Chapter 5. Under Obligations. Dr. Sandy Hemler leaned against the cool steel counter, her fingers gripping its edge as her colleagues gathered around her, their expressions a mix of admiration and horror. Just hours ago, she had been precariously balancing on the edge of existence after fighting off an attack. An incident so bizarre, it felt as if it had sprung straight from a nightmare rather than reality. "Sandy, are you okay?" Dr. Mason, a vascular surgeon with a perpetual frown, probed. He searched her eyes for the signs of trauma that always seemed to linger in the aftermath of crises. "I'm already okay," she replied, her voice a steadying force against the chaos that surrounded them. But even as she said it, a shiver ran down her spine, the memory of the attack gnawing at her mind like a hungry animal. Another doctor chimed in. "I didn't expect one of the evil forces to come here. You should probably tell Flendale." The name hung heavy in the air, a reminder of the hospital's less savory dealings with clandestine groups that had increasingly targeted its groundbreaking research. "No," Sandy insisted, her brow furrowing in apprehension. "You don't have to tell him about that. He was in the middle of the party." There was something about the absent revelry that vexed her. The annual gala was meant to draw friends, family, and benefactors to the hospital, an event of hope marred now by the shadows that loomed over them. "But we should tell him," Dr. Mason pressed. "It's time we made this hospital safe. I'm glad you're all right, because you're one of the best cardiac surgeons we have." "Oh, I was just probably so scared. I think you're right," she conceded reluctantly. Sandy rubbed her temples, fighting against the swell of anxiety that threatened to overwhelm her. "I just didn't want to make him worry, especially during his party, but we need more security measures around here. Understand?" "We understand, Dr. Hemler," answered a younger colleague, nodding solemnly. They exchanged glances, the weight of her words settling like lead within them. One by one, her colleagues filed out of the room, whispering about the implications of what had just happened, leaving Sandy alone in the flickering fluorescent lights. The sterile scented air, which once felt like her sanctuary, turned oppressive. She reached into her pocket, her fingers brushing against the cold metal of the small handgun she had tucked away, a precaution she had never imagined she would need in a hospital. Just a few hours ago, it had met her hand in a moment of panic, the weight of it in her grasp granting a fleeting sense of security. Sandy took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had always believed in healing bodies, but this threat was different. It sought to dismantle everything she'd worked for. Until now, her battles had been fought with instruments, not weapons. Resolutely, she stepped to the window. Outside, the gala continued, laughter spilling over into the night like an uncontained flame. Above her, the stars twinkled like distant promises, reminders that even in darkness, light exists if only one dares to seek it. "Not tonight," she murmured to herself, the shadows falling behind her. If trust was the first step in healing, she would help them regain it. The hospital would be safe again, not just for her, but for the countless lives that depended on it. The laboratory hummed with the low mechanical sounds of machines working tirelessly. Beneath the harsh white lights, contained in a high-tech preservation tank, lay Phelan, a once revered military commander, now lifeless. Her fall from grace echoed in the sterile room, where whispers of hope mingled with the scent of antiseptic. Caligula paced angrily, her frustration palpable. Brunhilde, the lead scientist, stood at the control panel, flicking switches and monitoring readings that had begun to blur into the background of her mind. The two had already argued vehemently about Phelan's fate, and yet here they were again, in the dark hours of the night, searching for a flicker of life in a soul they could not bring back. "Can't you do anything?" Caligula yelled, her voice rising above the sound of humming equipment. "Why are you just standing there? Do you even care?" Brunhilde's eyes darted to the tank, a mixture of sorrow and irritation swirling within her. "We can't revive her. Not now. There are processes." "Processes? Processes," Caligula interrupted. the frustration in her tone escalating. Exactly how many processes do we need to let this great commander rot in some glass box? She deserves better than this. Caligula, we can't rush this, she insisted, trying her best to stay calm. Her body, it's deteriorating, yes, but we've preserved her. We can wait until we understand how to bring her back. Wait! You think time is a luxury we have? Caligula retorted, her fists clenched at her sides. We need her skills. She was the greatest commander this world has ever known. Fine, she hissed, her voice low as he closed the distance between them. You have to preserve her properly. Keep her in the tank, fine. But we need to sort this out. We need Phylline. Brunhilde rolled her shoulders back. We will keep her safe. She won't rot, not while we're here. But even as she said this, doubt crept into her thoughts. Was there really a way to revive Phylline? Who were they kidding? As Caligula stormed out of the lab, Gertrude woke up from her catnap at the adjoining workstation. Blinking against the stark lighting, she noted the eerie atmosphere. She had been waiting for this moment of duty. Yet, something gnawed at her besides fatigue. Glancing at the clock, her heart raced. Was that right? 9 months had slipped away since Phylline's incident. Dizziness washed over her. A wave of faint nausea followed. She shook her head and pushed her chair back, forcing herself to stand. Her body felt heavy. Fatigue saturated her veins as she swayed slightly. Something was wrong, and her instincts screamed that she needed to find Caligula. She would know. She would always know. But as she stood, a flash of memory, an image of Phylline leading troops to victory, coursed through her mind. Perhaps she had been too consumed by the mundane to realize the stakes. The world outside was facing its own crises, and in her gut, she knew, without Phylline, they were climbing an uphill battle, one they might just lose. Phylline, Gertrude murmured softly to herself. You can't just lie there. With renewed determination, she stepped toward the tank, the chill radiating from the glass, resonating with the cold despair in the room. Whatever it took, they would find a way to breathe life back into their commander. The fight was far from over. The light of the corridor flickered as Brunhilde approached Gertrude's room, her arms laden with a tray of nutrition-packed food that could numb any lingering discomfort. The air was thick with uncertainty, and a knot twisted in her stomach. The last few weeks had been tumultuous, with whispers of Commander Phylline echoing through the compound, stirring unease among the ranks. Yet the pressing concern was not the commander, but the anomaly nestled within Gertrude. As she opened the door, Brunhilde halted, her heart sinking. The scene that unfolded was unimaginable. Gertrude stood in the center of the room, clutching a glowing, pulsating orb that hovered inches above the bed, its surface swirling with colors, like a miniature galaxy spiraling out of control. Brunhilde, Gertrude gasped, her voice strained. It happened again! A sense of dread cloyed at Brunhilde's throat. What? What is that? It looks alive. It's a new phase of the child, Gertrude whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. I don't understand it. One moment I felt sick, and then this appeared. It's like she's communicating through it. Brunhilde pressed a hand to her chest, willing the tightness to dissolve. You need to tell someone, Gertrude. This isn't something to handle alone. No, Gertrude replied, her voice a firm whisper. Caligula can't find out. Not now. Not when they're dealing with Phylline. You know how she would handle it, like a hawk circling its prey. Brunhilde understood too well. Caligula was relentless, and if she caught wind of anything out of the ordinary, the ramifications would be grave. But this is beyond secrecy. You must tell your sister. Gertrude shook her head vehemently. Stella is still asleep. I worry that if she wakes, she'll draw attention and trigger an inquiry. We can't have that. Brunhilde surveyed the orb. It continued to pulse rhythmically, a heartbeat of its own. What are you saying? That we just hide this? There's one thing we can do. Gertrude said, her eyes bright with newfound resolve. What do you mean? Brunhilde asked, unsure if she wanted to know. I can duplicate her, Gertrude asserted. Brunhilde's breath caught. Duplicate her? But Stella's experiments only focused on inanimate objects. You can't just— I can! Gertrude interrupted, urgency bursting from her. If we do this right, then maybe the original won't be discovered. If we act discreetly, no one need know. We can protect her. I know it sounds impossible, but we need to buy time. Brunhilde wrestled with her thoughts, weighing the ethical implications. What if it goes wrong? What if she's not the same? Trust me, Gertrude pleaded, voice quaking. If I can stabilize the orb, I can create a version of her that won't attract attention. The knot in Brunhilde's stomach twisted tighter, yet beneath the anxiety bubbled a current of hope. Fine, but we must be careful, she replied. Gertrude moved to embrace her, the warmth of their friendship enveloping them. Thank you, I needed to hear that. Without you, I couldn't do this. As they stood, cloaked in shadows beneath the dim light, the orb pulsed steadily in the background. What had begun as fear and uncertainty morphed into a fragile hope, a shared purpose binding them closer together. In this intricate dance of science and secrecy, the fragile lines of life and existence would blur, all under the sharp gaze of impending discovery. Brunhilde and Gertrude sat at their small dining table, its surface adorned with plates of flaky croissants and neatly sculpted sandwiches. A single glass pitcher of water gleamed in the morning light, the condensation shimmering like tiny crystals. They had become accustomed to this routine, a calm sanctuary amidst a world that often felt chaotic and unfathomable. Brunhilde chewed thoughtfully on her croissant, the buttery pastry flaking away beneath her fingers. She watched as Gertrude delicately placed her sandwich down, her eyes widening with delight at the fresh ingredients nestled within. The sun filtered through the tiny window, casting stripes of warmth across the table. Here, read this, Brunhilde said, handing over the newspaper that had been crumpled in her lap. Thursday, May 14th, 1998. A sudden attack on the Hemmler Medical Center is a tragedy, horrible incident. One nurse dies on the pharmacy that they tried what they can, but the nurse didn't survive. But Dr. Sandra Hemmler survived on the terrible incident in the hospital. I was survived in the incident when I tried to stop someone stealing medicines in the pharmacy, said Dr. Hemmler. The one of the greatest doctors survives ever in that terrible incident. Furthermore, it was found it was one of the main leaders in the evil forces, who called her Commander Feline, and now that she was found dead. And how could we end this terrible incident everywhere? And now that we could be aware that they must be everywhere, anywhere. Her gaze flicked towards Brunhilde, who sat across from her, an anxious expression tightening her features. Why did Phelan involve herself in the hospital? Gertrude asked, her voice low, as though speaking any louder would summon unwanted attention. She was tasked by Mr. Techno, Brunhilde replied, a shudder running through her. I know it wasn't right. She nearly got caught trying to steal supplies. Some of her henchmen snagged a few vials of dextrose and new medicines. Gertrude clenched her teeth. They need to be frugal, especially now that we're running out of resources. We need those medicines more than ever. Quite, Brunhilde nodded. That's why I'm planting herbal remedies too. I want to help the bodies that are suffering, but, her voice wavered, I can't shake this nervous feeling. What if they take my child? Don't worry, that won't happen, Gertrude insisted, though her chest tightened at the thought. The controlling regimes had flouted ethical boundaries increasingly, exploiting children for their experiments and soldier projects. I'm already nervous enough, Gertrude. Everything is happening so quickly. I don't feel like other normal women, Brunhilde admitted, laying her hand over her heavy belly, the undeniable evidence of life brewing inside her. Gertrude leaned forward, concern etched on her face. Just focus on this moment. You'll be heading to labor soon. Just breathe. Tell me if you feel anything. Oh, I know it's coming. Brunhilde smiled through her apprehension. But where is Anastasia? I haven't heard from her in days. She's in Pasoda, Gertrude replied. Pasoda? That must be dangerous. What on earth is she doing there? She was sent to uncover some new experiment for Vince, Brunhild said, her voice dropping to a whisper. They tasked her with stealing something important. Silence hung between them, heavy and suffocating, the implications of their world echoing in their minds. If only I could reach her, Brunhilde lamented, her eyes drifting away. Soon, perhaps. Just keep your spirits up. Everything will work out. You just have to stay strong for the baby. Gertrude squeezed her hand gently.
But I don't want to go out there. I don't know how to hide this, Brunhilde said, panic rising in her voice. What if they find out? I can make excuses for you, Gertrude reassured. They'll understand. It's not like they expect you to fight. You're about to bring life into this harsh world. Focus on that. Equipped with Gertrude's unwavering support, Brunhilde exhaled heavily. There was something about her friend's strength that brought a sense of calm. With every word exchanged, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. After hours of anxious waiting, the wall-mounted screens suddenly crackled to life, a report blaring across the hospital. A breakthrough in genetic manipulation could soon yield new medicines, wiping out some debilitating diseases. See? Things are changing, Gertrude said, eyes sparkling with the news. Just then, Brunhilde felt it, a tightening in her belly, a promise of life ready to arrive. A surge of energy coursed through her, eliciting a smile. I think, she gasped, her heart pounding. You're going to be fine, Gertrude said, her voice filled with conviction. As they prepared for the unknown, hope bloomed amid the sterile walls. They would bring life into a world desperate for change, and perhaps someday they would witness the dawn of a better reality. The hospital, once a place of despair, now became the cradle of new beginnings. In the task force headquarters, the hum of fluorescent lights and the steady tap of rain against the windows provided a backdrop to Emily's growing frustration. She stood at the head of a long table, flanked by her fellow operatives as they debated the morning's disastrous incident involving Flendale and his overbearing girlfriend. I think we have a good solution for this, but I can't believe Flendale's girlfriend had to get involved. This isn't ever happening again. Emily's voice trembled with disappointment, eyes scanning the room for agreement. Florian, the youngest member of the team, leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled thoughtfully. But we did try to protect every civilian as you asked, he replied, his brow furrowed. Emily rolled her eyes. I know what my gut is telling me. I hate them so much. As long as they're out there messing with us, we can't rest. A silence enveloped the room, each member absorbing the weight of her words. The evil forces scattered across the city seemed to gain confidence with each attempt they repelled. In that room of seasoned warriors, doubts began to rise. So, what's the plan? Florian ventured cautiously, breaking the tension. We should invade their hideout, suggested Marcus, a veteran operative known for his no-nonsense approach. We need to be smarter than them this time. A surprise attack. Emily nodded, a fire igniting within her. Exactly. We go in discreetly, gather intel, and see if we can dismantle their operations from the inside out. We're not just going to rush blindly into battle. But we should remember they have their tricks, Sabine warned, her fingers tapping anxiously against the table. We need a precise strategy. And if we bring in the choppers, we have to be careful. They might anticipate a direct assault. Right, Emily snapped her fingers. We can trigger a diversion, a fake skirmish at one of their less important facilities. While they scramble to contain the chaos, we'll strike at the heart of their operation. Florian's expression brightened. And once they're distracted, we can use the drones to scout and then follow up with a strike. They'll never see us coming. With their plan taking shape, the team rallied around their shared determination. It was not just about defeating the evil forces anymore. It was about reclaiming their sense of control. As evening approached, floods of darkness enveloped the city, the heavy rain echoing the turmoil brewing inside the headquarters. Emily felt a mix of adrenaline and anxiety as they prepared their gear. Each operative was ready to deploy. Their mission was clear, and a sense of unity gripped the room. Hours later, nestled in their sleek black shuttle, they hovered silently above the evil force's hidden stronghold, illuminated like a bleak artwork by the moon's glow. Silhouettes of the enemy flickered amid intermittent flashes of light from their training exercises, unaware of the impending storm. "We're on," Emily whispered as they descended, the tension in her body coiling tighter. This was no longer a mere operation. It felt like a reckoning. The team moved swiftly, each step resonating with purpose. Instinct surged. This was about their fights, their sacrifices. Emily felt the old flames stoking anew, defiance whispering in her ears as they prepared to unleash their carefully crafted plan upon the unsuspecting evil lurking beneath the surface. In that moment, she knew they would reclaim their city, one calculated blow against the darkness at a time.